using the expert info inside of Wireshark. This is awesome. Let's begin. I'd like you to imagine it's Tuesday afternoon and we get a call from the CEO's office. It's the executive secretary and he's asking us if we'll come down to the office right away. So we say, sure. So we make our way down to the office, and as we walk in, the executive secretary hands us a CD and says, this, my friends, is a capture of the CEO's network traffic over the past 24 hours. What we want you to do, he says, is we want you to go ahead and look at it and see if there's anything weird or anomalous or anything that looks like it might be a problem. So we take the CD and then we leave. So we take that CD, we bring it back to our office, we put it in a computer, we fire up Wireshark, we open it, and the question now is, where do we start with this? Well, there's this really cool feature inside of Wireshark called Expert Info, and it gives us the ability to see some insight, little hints, if you will, as to what might be wrong or a problem that Wireshark noticed about the data inside of the capture. It's really, really cool. Expert Info is going to give us visibility into something that it sees, the Expert Info sees as either uncommon or a notable event. And the reason I mentioned that it's like a hint is because it may warn us of something or give us a note, but it doesn't mean absolutely that that's a huge problem on the network. But at the same time, it's additional information that we might use to start digging into a capture file to take a look at those details. Also with the Expert Info, sometimes there will be quite a bit of it, other times there'll be less. It depends on what type of traffic is going through. It has 4 severity levels that it can associate and alert with. It can give us an error message, which is in red, a warn message, which is color-coded as yellow, a note level, which is color-coded as cyan, and chat level, which is color-coded as gray. And these are the color codes it's going to use inside of the details area as we're looking at packets inside of Wireshark. What's also really cool is that besides just telling us about errors and warnings and notes and chat information, it's also going to group the messages based on the category of the information it's sharing with us. For example, sequence. That's the group it would put the message in if the protocol sequence was suspicious. For example, the sequence wasn't continuous or there was a retransmission detected or something of that nature. The uncoded group would represent, for example, a dissector was incomplete or the data couldn't be decoded for some reason. And with malformed, it represents that we have some kind of a malformed packet. And as a result, it's very unlikely that the dissector could do its job because the packet is malformed. In any full release version, we shouldn't see too much debug, but if you're working with a beta, that's what that's there for. And there's other groups as well, including a group for response codes, for request codes, there's a group for reassemble issues, there's a protocol group, and they're placed in a specific group to help us identify what type of issue the Expert Info is pointing out to us. If we want to add a column that lists the actual severity regarding error, warn, note, or chat, we can add that right to the display view inside of Wireshark. And we can also use this field in the Wireshark output as a display filter or part of a display filter. If you'd like to go through this step by step with me, I'd love that. The actual preferences file for the profile I'm using, if you want to match that, is in the Nugget Lab files for this video. It's the preferences file. Also, this capture, expertinfos.pcap, is also available in the Nugget Lab files for this video. So the very first question we got to answer is, how do you launch the Expert Info information? Or how do you see it? There's actually a couple of ways, and they're both really straightforward. One is right down here in the bottom left-hand corner, we have this big button. And red happens to represent error. So we know we have at least one packet that has an error level expert information for us. If we want to see the detail for the expert info, we simply click this button that brings it up. Another way to do it is to use the Analyze drop-down from the menu bar. Either way, it's going to bring us the pop-up for the expert information. So let's go ahead and use the menu bar to start off with. We'll go to Analyze, and then from Analyze, we'll simply select Expert Info. And that brings up this pop-up window right here. And it makes it so easy to sort through our entire capture file and view this expert information right here. So here we have the errors. They'll be red. So if we open up malformed TCP, it would show us the actual packet involved or packets. It says right here we have 1 in the count column. So we'll go ahead and bring it out, and that's packet 1121. So if we click on 1121, check this out. It opens up that packet 1121. That's this packet right here. It's also in red, giving us the expert info on that packet. The new fragment is overlapping the old data. So we'll go ahead and open that up for additional detail. And there's our expert information right there. So is that cause for alarm? If this is happening all the time, we would definitely want to look into this. So here we have an error, and it is being shown in red inside of the packet detail. Next, let's take a look at the warnings, and it shows that we have 17 of those puppies. And we have two groups. We have undecoded, where we have 2 packets, and we have sequence group with 15 packets. If we want to open up the details for these, we simply click on the plus symbol, and the warning should be yellow. That's the color coding by default for warnings in the expert info. So if we click on a packet, for example, 2740, and then scroll down here, and it's simply saying a segment before this frame wasn't captured. So it's very likely that I had a TCP conversation in place. I started the capture. I started capturing the continuation of a TCP-based session. And because I didn't catch the beginning of it, that's why this expert info is popping up as a warning. Is that a huge deal? No, it's not a huge deal because I really didn't capture the beginning of this conversation. So let's say we have a PC here, and that goes off to a router, and that router has 2 additional routers it can go to that go off to, let's say, the internet out here. If some of the packets are going this way and other traffic is going this way, and we're sniffing on the network right here, it's very possible we're not going to see the entire conversation. So if we have asymmetrical routing, for example, like this, where not all the back and forth traffic goes on this link, we wouldn't expect our capture file to contain the full conversation. So warnings that are complaining because it's not seeing the entire picture, those effectively could be disregarded in a case where we have asymmetrical routing in place. Next, let's go to notes, and they are the beautiful color of cyan in the packet detail. So in the notes, we've got a whole bunch in the group sequence. If we scroll down, it looks like they're all sequence except for this guy down here, which is a malformed HTTP. But if we grab one of these and open it up like this, and grab a packet, for example, 2780, it's going to take us there. And it's also showing us this beautiful cyan color, which is associated with the notes level inside of the expert info. So you'll notice we have our color codes up here. They're also indicating an issue with a duplicate acknowledgement. And down here in the expert info, it's also claiming the same thing. Now, is this a problem? I would say yes. If it happens intermittently, it's probably not a huge deal. However, if it happens all the time, I would look into it and see what's really going on with the network. Because if layer 4 isn't happy and isn't able to reliably deliver traffic back and forth, there's going to be a huge problem with application layers that are going to seem to take forever because of all the retransmissions that are likely to happen if we have a faulty network. So the errors were in red in the detail. We have the warnings, which are yellow, the notes, which are cyan color like this, and then we have the chat. Now the chat is just like it thinking out loud. It doesn't mean there's a problem or an issue on the network. It's kind of like Wireshark's opinion of what currently is happening, and those, my friend, are going to be gray. So let's go ahead and go to chats. And for example, we'll take this first one. We have a connection establishment, a SYN request. Woo! So we might be saying, well, that's great. It happens all the time. Why even put that in the chat? Well, that's why they call it chat. It's not really a problem. It's not really an issue. It's just maybe a little expert info on what's happening. So if we open up that detail and let's go to packet 323, it'll take us right there. And let's scroll down. And there indeed is our expert information in gray. So it's saying here we have a connection establishment request. We're sitting at a SYN request. We're trying to get to server port HTTP, which is TCP port 80. And in fact, all of these are going to be the same. All of these packets are all going to be reflecting there's a connection establishment request, a SYN request. So we could go to any one of those packets. They're going to look very, very similar. So packet number 5, sure enough, if we look at the flags, there's a SYN request. Packet 7, sure enough, there's a SYN request right here again. If we close that grouping and we want to look for the syntax, check it out. Connection establishment acknowledgement, a syntax. So we open that up, and all of these are going to be a syntax coming back from the server to the clients. So packet 13 as an example. So here we have the SYN request. We also have the acknowledgement. And all of these packets right here are going to be syntax. So that's really, really cool. If you want to find out, okay, I want to take a look at all of this type of traffic, we simply go to the expert info, go under chat, look for the type of connection that we're interested in, select it, and it'll tell us all the packets that are involved in that type of a connection. And the last piece right here is details. And the details, if we scroll down a little bit here, let me go down to maybe we can get a whole bunch of colors on one screen. And let me go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. That's fantastic right there. So here we have an error, which is coded in red. We have a warning coded in yellow. We have the note level coded in cyan. And then we have the chat level right here, which is interesting because in the packet detail, the expert info for chat is color-coded as gray. And here in this details pane, it's coloring on blue, but that's okay. So I've got a question for you. Let's say that we wanted to take the severity level of the expert info, whether it's chat, note, error, or warning, and we wanted to make a new column out of it inside of Wireshark. How would we go about that? Now, if you're saying, wait a sec, Keith, I've got this. In our previous videos, we've been able to go to any detail inside of the detail view of a packet, right-click, and simply say, apply as column. I'll bet you we could use that same technique here as well, and you would be absolutely right. So let's first of all, let's go to a packet that has expert info in it. So we'll go to warnings, for example. We'll go to packet 2740. That's fantastic. Now that we're highlighted on 2740, let me go ahead and close this window, get it out of the way, and let's just scroll down to the expert info right here. And right here we have the severity level. So if we wanted to use expert.severity, that's this field right here that we're looking at. If we wanted to make that a new column, how would we do that? Simple. We just right click on it and say, I want to apply that as a column. And there it is. So there's our severity level right there, warn, note, chat, etc., all the way down. That's if you want to have that as a separate column inside of your Wireshark display. So now that that's there, let's go back to the very top using the go to first packet option on the toolbar. Next, let's take a look at how we could build a display filter to look at just warn messages in the expert info. How would we do that? Well, we already know that the severity level, in fact, let's right click on that. Click edit column details just to verify what the field name is. So expert severity right there. Let's go ahead and right click that. We'll copy it. We'll make that a display filter, paste that in, and let's say we want to equal to warn, just like that. Press enter, and that's going to be just the packets involved that have expert info with a severity of warn. If we want to change that to error, we can set it to error. Press enter. We have one packet that matches that. Or if we wanted to go to chat, that would be all the ones with the severity level of chat. And that's because we can use virtually any field inside Wireshark as a display filter. Very likely, though, if we wanted to see everything that had the level of warning, we could clear off the display filter and just click on the button at the bottom left-hand corner or go to Analyze, Expert Info, and simply choose the level we want. And that will also give us information on exactly which packets have that severity level. So that gives you a couple different options in viewing and selecting out the individual packets based on the expert info severity level. In this video, we can now describe that expert info is built-in help regarding events that are happening inside of the capture file. We have 4 severity levels: error, warn, note, and chat. They're all color-coded, and if we want to, we can use that information as a new column or as a display filter to help us focus on the traffic that might be of most interest to us as we're troubleshooting our network. Your homework assignment is really simple. What I want you to do is grab the capture file that we used in this video and simply take a look at the expert info on it. Look at the error messages, the warnings, the notes, and the chats, and then take a look in more detail at the information provided by the expert info. I have had a great time. I'm so glad you shared this time with me. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.